Hi, I'm Bob Yantoska from the GEOS-Chem support team. Today we're going to be looking at how to create GitHub issues. As you remember from my previous video when we talked about searching the GitHub issue tracker, a GitHub issue is anything, any kind of ticket that gets put on a GitHub issue tracker. And these can not only be just bugs, but these can be also feature requests or discussion threads or questions and things like that. But before we get to the point of creating an issue, let's say your GEOS-Chem simulation dies with an error and you don't know how to fix it, before you create the issue asking the support team to take a look at it, we would ask that you do a few things before that. First of all, the first thing you should do is take a look at our guide to GEOS-Chem error messages on the wiki. This has several different types of error messages and how to resolve them and what they're caused by. So for example, if you go to the first page, understanding the different categories of errors, it talks about some basic information. There's errors that can be caused by file I/O, maybe a file is corrupted or it's not found on disk. Errors that are caused by abnormal exits from chemistry or Hemco and emissions and things like that, and technical errors. And so it gives you some tips what you can do. And then if you go to the next pages, if you keep going searching through this guide, you'll come up to errors that are that you may encounter when you compile GEOS-Chem, and so you can take a look at this and see if any of these match your problem, and then it gives a resolution. There are also errors that when you run GEOS-Chem that are not in the compile phase but in the run phase, things like maybe bad input, or you don't have the proper configuration set up in input GEOS or in the Hemco configuration file and things like that. So this gives you a lot of tips to see if your error is a known issue, and then if you find the solution for it, you don't have to create a GitHub issue. The next thing that we would request that you do is to take a look at our Debugging GEOSChem wiki page. Now, in this page has a lot of tips for how to debug errors in GEOS-Chem. And the first one, you can take a look at a few of these. The first one is make sure your environment is set up. This is especially true if you're a new GEOS-Chem user or you're migrating to a new machine where you've not run GEOS-Chem on. Make sure that you have all the libraries installed and you have all the variables set in your Unix environment that GEOS-Chem needs to use. Check if your error is listed online. We talked a little bit about that. Look at the logs, look at the error messages, and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of a checklist you can go down, and you can recompile GEOS-Chem with debugging flags that will trap many different types of errors that you might be able to, when you run with the GEOS-Chem in the debugging mode, you might find the error that you're looking for and be able to fix it. We also have a list of bugs and fixes on the GEOS-Chem wiki that are listed by version, so the known issues in each version and which version they were fixed in. So as you can see, in the more recent versions, we have been migrating this type of information from the GEOS-Chem wiki to the GitHub issue tracker. So if you click on, for example, 12.7, these are the issues that are still open, and you can also see the issues that are closed and so forth. So it's a very useful way to keep up with the fixes that have been made in GEOS-Chem, especially if you're running an older version of GEOS-Chem, because what happens often is that we'll make a bug fix in a newer version, but if you're stuck on an older version of GEOS-Chem, you might not know about that newer version or the newer bug fix that went into the newer version. So it's important to check the list of bugs and fixes. Okay, so we go back to the GitHub page on GEOS-Chem. So let's say that none of those things, you've tried all those things, none of them work, and you want to create an issue for the GEOS-Chem support team. So let's click on the New Issue button. So we're on the Issues tab, by the way. So we go to GEOS-Chem, the name of the repository, we're on the Issues tab, then we click on New Issue, and it'll bring you to this page. Now, one of the great things about GitHub for repository maintainers like us is that it allows us to define certain custom templates. So when you click on the Get Started buttons, it's going to bring you to the page where you type in your information, but it lets us put in some predefined text. So for example, if we click on the report bug or technical issue, then you'll see there's all this text has already been pre-inserted into the box where you're going to type in your information. A couple of other things to note. As my colleague Lizzie Lundgren mentioned in her issue, in the subject line here, it prints the type of issue in brackets, so do not change this. Right? As Lizzie mentioned in her video, this information is used particularly if you're going to get notifications to your email inbox, and so that lets you separate different types of issues into different types of folders by just checking the subject line. Also notice that the template will automatically assign a label to the issue. So in this case, this is a bug that we're reporting, so it automatically assigns the label bug. And we talked about labels in the prior video, whereas if you click in the issue tracker, if you click on a label that says bug, you'll get all the bugs in the issue tracker and so forth. Now, it may look like the text is a little bit of gobbledygook here, especially with, you have hyperlinks in the text as well. But this is because the text uses a syntax known as Markdown, which is a standard, kind of wiki type language that's in use by GitHub and other sites on the web. You can always go back between the right tab. The right tab is where you can type into the box. The preview tab shows you what the box looks like. So if you, in the preview, it looks logical. It looks like real text. But in the right tab, you have all the markup, and so forth. If you're not familiar with Markdown syntax, there are a couple of resources. If you go to this page, so if you just Google markdownguide.org and then click on basic syntax, so markdownguide.org basics-syntax brings you to this page that has a great overview of the syntax for the Markdown. So for example, headings are denoted by pound signs, things like bold can be denoted by 2 asterisks, italic can be denoted by 1 asterisk, and so forth. So it has all the rules of the Markdown language here. Another resource that you might find useful is that online there is a great Markdown editor called Dillinger.io. So this is like a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. So on the left box, you type in Markdown text. On the right box, you see what it looks like. So this is like a sandbox that you can type some text. If you're not sure about the syntax, you can play with it here and make sure it comes out right here. So it gives you a little practice of working with the Markdown syntax. So those are useful resources for you. Okay, so let's actually start filling out this issue, bug issue template for GEOS-Chem. So let's say, again, I'm going to go back to the subject line here, and again, we're not going to delete this because we need this to be present, especially if we get email notifications. But we're going to type a subject. We'll call it maybe GEOS-Chem demo issue. And notice, once I start typing, GitHub will actually not ask, but it will present me with several issues that may be related. So for example, by the keywords that you put in the subject line, it will look on that. So a lot of these have GEOS-Chem, the words GEOS-Chem in them, and so forth. So you might find related issues just by typing in the box, which is great. Okay. So let's, so if we go back to the preview, again, it says first check to see if your issue has already been resolved. We've talked about that, so I can actually delete this section. Feel free to delete that. And so then you can just go down the line here and fill in the information that we request. So, for example, describe the bug. My code died 3 hours into a run, but it should have run for 24 hours or something like that, just so that we know what the issue is. And then it's going to ask you to fill in the steps that has to be done in order to reproduce the observed behavior. So not only the compilation commands, but the run command. So maybe like make J4 build or whatever it is. And then maybe the run command was GEOS to the log file, pipe it to a log file. Whatever it, whatever it is. This is just sample. And then for expected behavior, you can say, the run should have completed normally, or whatever it is. I'm just making this. I'm not just making these one-liners up just for the purpose of the demo, but the more information that you provide when you write the real ticket or the real issue, the better it is for us, because it allows us to be better able to resolve the issue. Okay. And then for error messages, so I'm going to go back to the preview tab and see what we have typed already. And so as you can see, we have a description of the bug, some of the steps, the expected behavior. And so under error messages, as you notice that you get this text in fixed form, or fixed width font, I should say. That can be useful if you need to print out either text output from GEOS-Chem, or you can also include code snippets if you want to as well. And I'll show you how that works. So in the Markdown syntax, under error messages, so I'll just say this is output from my code. You can say, GEOS-Chem, whatever it is, you can just cut and paste it here. Simulation ended. Now, the delimiters for this fixed width font are 3 backtick characters. So the backtick characters are the backwards facing quote. On most English language keyboards, this is up in the upper left, often near the 1 or the escape key. On other languages, it may be in a different place, so you just be aware of that. So 3 backticks starts a fixed width section, and then 3 backticks ends it again. So if we go back to the preview tab, you'll see GEOS-Chem simulation ended, or whatever your error message was, printed in fixed width format. Okay. You can also include code snippets here. So if you do 3 backticks and then type F90 and then do ending 3 backticks, we can say this is Fortran code. You can say, do I equals 1 to 100, print I, end do, or whatever the Fortran code is. And when you preview it, notice that because we specified that it was Fortran code or Fortran 90 code, I guess it doesn't matter. You can use Fortran F77 or Fortran 90. I think they all work. That it colorizes the reserved words, or the statements in Fortran. This also works for Python. So you can say, this is Python. Most languages this will work, or C++, or most of the GitHub supported languages. Now, you wouldn't normally probably be typing Python code into a GEOS-Chem issue, but note that the GCPy issue tracker works in the very same way, so the idea is the same. So you would say import, xarray as xr ds equals xr open dataset my file.nc. So that's just a file to read and open a file in Python. And again, it colorizes all the words, which is really great. Now, there's even a better way to insert code snippets into an issue. So I'm going to go over to this page here, which is also the GEOS-Chem repository in another window. So I'm on the code tab. So underneath the repository name here, you go to the code tab, This lists all the files and the directories in the GEOS-Chem source code. So let's go to GEOS core and let's pick, I don't know, let's say chemistry.mod.f90, and let's take let's say you wanted to add a code snippet into GEOS-Chem. Let's say this snippet, for whatever reason, if this might be in a place where your error is happening. So what I can do is I can actually make what's called a permalink. So what I do is I go to the line where I want to start the snippet. I press the Shift key on my keyboard and I click the left mouse button. Now that starts this highlight and it opens this sub-menu with the 3 dots. Then while still holding the Shift key, I'm going to go down to the end of the line, or the ending line that I want to include in the snippet. Then I press the left mouse button again while still holding the Shift key. Then I go back to this little context menu here and I click on it and I want to do copy permalink. Okay, that's going to make a permanent link. And then when I go back to the issue and get back into write mode, let's say here's a permalink, and then I'm just going to paste it in with just the regular paste, and this puts the permalink that we just did from the code in chemistry mod here. So if we go to preview and then go down here, now you see you have a real code snippet just directly out of the GitHub, which is really neat. Okay, so this is the section on error messages and inserting some code snippets and things like that. Then it asks for required information. I won't go through this. It just type in the version number, compiler version, netcdf, and whatever it asks for. And then there's also, let's go back to the write tab. So we're in write mode. We go to input and log files to attach. Okay, so GitHub will allow you to attach certain types of files. Now, for text files, I think they need to be in .txt extension. So if you have a log file from GEOS-Chem, you might have to rename it to like log.txt before GitHub can take it. So for example, I'm going to just say here is a sample, and these are, we list on the wiki different types of log files that you can attach or you could let us know about. I'm just going to clear all this for now. I'm just going to clear all this so I can type. So here is a log file. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a window on my computer that has a log file. So I'm going to see, notice this one, it's called gc dry run log.txt. I've already appended the txt extension, so it should work. So then what I do to insert it into the issue, I just drag it and drop it at the point that I want to put into the issue. And notice that it not only uploads it, and it makes a hyperlink to it, so that when we go to, sorry, we have to keep going back up here to get to the preview screen. When we go to that, it gives you a link, so if you click on that, you'll get the contents of the file. Okay, so then let's go back to the write tab up here, and then let's bring that window up here. You can also attach a screenshot. So here is a screenshot. Now we would rather, screenshots can be useful, but for code snippets it's probably better to do a permalink because then you can reference it better, whereas screenshot is, a screenshot's maybe better for model output than, or like if you're wanting to include a plot of what you think GEOS-Chem should be doing, but instead here's the plot of whatever I got instead. So that's probably a better case for using a screenshot. But anyway, the same thing. I'm going to bring up my window here, just my file manager window. I'm going to pick this file called screenshot.ping. It takes most of the graphics formats, ping, text, or a ping, GIF, JPEG, and so forth. And so I just drag it and drop it, and it will put the screenshot into the issue, and we'll delete some extra lines here. And so when we go down, here's the screenshot right in the issue. So it's really, really neat. So that's pretty much it. Know that the GitHub issues, no matter on which repository you are, the method of submitting them is more or less the same. They may have a different template, so they may ask you for different information. For example, on the GCPy, we're going to be asking you about Python packages instead of Fortran packages, but the concept is the same. You're going to be using the Markdown language to fill in the required information, and we'll click on Submit New Issue. And as you see, it's created this issue, which I'll probably go back and delete later, or I might just leave it up here so you can see it. It has the bug label, so if we go back to the issue tracker, you'll see it has GEOS-Chem demo issue, and it's listed as a bug in an issue. So in a nutshell, that's how to create GitHub issues. I hope this has been helpful, and please look for more videos on our YouTube page, youtube.geoschem.org. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.